For round 7 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship, the teams are at a very hot and sunny Snetterton, the first of 3 races over the course of the weekend for most of the categories that Ginetta bring, although Ginetta GT Championship has thus the 2 with a pit stop race, a longer race for these cars tomorrow. So this is the sprint race, 20 minutes in duration. Everybody with the same type of car, the Ginetta G56 GTP, 6.2 litre V8 engines. They are capable of 165 miles an hour as a top speed. They weigh in at 1,265 kilos, and the championship is effectively split into 3 separate divisions. You've got Pro, Pro-Am and Am. And Archie Clark, the man to beat this year, is on pole position. He has had 4 race wins. He's the championship leader, and with him at the front of the grid is Harry Gamble, the latest in the line of racing Gamble brothers, George Carrera Cup GB champion, Tom Gamble, now Aston Martin hypercar driver in the World Endurance Championship, former McLaren driver, and Harry has been a winner as well this year. He is in Pro-Am, whereas Archie Clark, the grandson of Roger Clark, rally driver Roger Clark, he is in Pro. Robert Cronin's been a race winner. He lines up 3rd on the grid, and Hadley Simpson is to be found 4th. It's going to be a rolling start. The cars will be released shortly. It's the full Snetterton 300 lap in use this weekend, so there's a lot to it for the drivers. It's a busy lap, especially with that very twisty infield part. And Archie Clark then, who comes here comfortably ahead in the championship, 30 points clear, he's going to start on pole. Green flag waved, everybody released then onto the formation lap. And the white car is that of Archie Clark, the yellow livery alongside of Harry Gamble, more yellow behind Robert Cronin, who comes from a good motorsport family of race and rally drivers. And then Hadley Simpson is going to start 4th on the grid. Hadley, somebody who has had a lot of success in karting prior to coming into cars. Drove in Britcar last year in the Clio class and was the champion there. The full grid then has on pole position Archie Clark, with him at the front Harry Gamble. Robert Cronin is going to start from 3rd. Hadley Simpson is to be found 4th. Starting 5th, it is Jack Collins, and 6th, reigning champion Mackenzie Douglas, who wasn't going to commit to a full season but has sort of fallen back into this and is always a man to watch. On the 4th row is 63, Ali Jafali, and then Nick White, 3rd in the championship. Quite a long way back here, though, for somebody that's had a 2nd and a 3rd place this year. Alex Duncan is on the 5th row, and then the best Am in the championship, number 21 of Luke Shaw, lines up alongside. On the 6th row, there's number 8, Dominic Paul, and 47, Emma Tomlinson. Colin White, who is these days almost inextricably linked to Ginettas. He's been racing them for that long, the former National Hot Rod World Champion. He is on the 7th row with James Townsend for company. Amy Tomlinson is on the 8th row with James Rowling alongside. And then the back row is Cameron Pratt-Thompson and Oliver Fordham to round out the 18-strong grid. So Archie Clark, then the driver to be found on pole position. And Archie, who's had this very, very impressive start to the season. He won the first 4 races, both Donington, both Silverstone, on the bounce. On board here with Mackenzie Douglas, reigning champion. Outside of the front row, Harry Gamble, who came into Ginetta Racing last season and was initially in the GT Academy, 2nd in the class last year, and then coming into the more senior championship, if you like, this year. As he says himself, he wants to test himself in faster cars against more experienced drivers. Jack Collins also you are able to go on board with. He's going to start on the 3rd row of the grid. On the 2nd row, 26, Robert Cronin, who raced in the Ginetta GT Championship at the back end of last year, having raced for a couple of seasons in the Porsche Cayman Series, Porsche Sprint Challenge. He's one of 4 racing brothers, or 4 motorsport brothers. There's 4-time British Rally champion Keith, Ginetta race winner in juniors, Colin, and another rallyist, Daniel Cronin. And then Robert Cronin is to be found 3rd. Hadley Simpson is 4th on the grid, another of the Yellow Perils. His mother used to be CEO of Porsche UK, also looked after Bentley in Europe. So Hadley, from a good motoring background, coming into the Britcar Clio class, which he mopped up in last year, now into Ginettas. The race is going to be 20 minutes in duration. Clock starts any moment when the cars accelerate their way up towards the timing line. So Archie Clark in the white livery on pole position alongside. Then you've got Harry Gamble, And in a moment, the lights will change. The cars will accelerate their way up towards the timing line. And then we are going to be in business then for the first of the two Ginetta GT Championship races of the weekend. Backed by Protyre Motorsport. The grid all neat and compact. They're not going to be released yet until they get closer to the timing line. But any moment, the lights will change. We will go racing. And who's going to make the best start then as they coast almost their way up towards the lighting gantry? It's blast off now. Good getaway by Mackenzie Douglas from the outside of the third row as he tries to growl his way up on the outside. Contact between the front row drivers then. Clark and Gamble lean on each other. Harry Gamble keeps on coming, tries to go around the outside, runs out of road completely, exit stage left, way out wide over the grass. Loads of dust is kicked up, and he's going to rejoin at the back of the field on really dirty tyres now. So Harry Gamble, after a bit of contact, tried to brave it out on the outside, did not have the traction, and as you've seen, has put himself to flat last. So first into the corner and last out of it. Big battle on already there for third place, as up the inside line, Hadley Simpson moves himself through, coming out of turn 3 then, down towards Agostini for the first time. And another big effort there to try to gain ground. Jack Collins in the red car, he's lost his third place. He wants it back on the inside into Agostini. Lines up for a move there, which doesn't quite work, coming off the corner. All of this playing into the hands of Archie Clark, who right away is trying to break clear of the opposition and see what he can do about a 5th win of the season. Through they work then in the infield part of the lap, up from Agostini through Hamilton, then Oggies up towards Williams, and then the run onto Bentley Straight, going a little bit wide there, coming out James Townsend, but as the field accelerate now onto Bentley Straight for the first time, speed building all the while, it is Archie Clark trying to get away. Up into second place then, Robert Cronin, and he's another one to have benefited from those dramas on the first lap for Harry Gamble as they come now down towards the Brundle-Nelson-S's sequence. Top two starting to edge away as they work their way through that left and right. And Harry Gamble, to be fair to him, having rejoined at the back of the field, is very quickly on the money to try to buy back places. Another one goes way, way wide there. That's Luke Shaw, the Raceway Motorsport car. That was wide coming out of Brundle and Nelson towards Bombhole. Time lost, places lost as well. And on such a dry day, you end up with really dirty, dusty tyres. So now he's trying to fend off the challenger, Mackenzie Douglas, number 1, last year's champion. The leaders come up towards the end of lap number 1. And with 20 minutes being on the clock, we're looking at about 10 laps, I would propose here, as through they come then. So the race leader, Archie Clark, ahead of Robert Cronin by only 0.3 of a second. And then Hadley Simpson is in third place. Fourth, it is number 12, Jack Collins, up from the third row of the grid. In fifth place, Nick White, who is normally to be found near the front. And there, Harry Gamble picks off another place, gets ahead of Emma Tomlinson, diving down through turn 1. So that is going to put him up now into 11th place, and he's not done yet. Now, granted, life gets tougher from here on in because the gaps are opening up. He'd ideally like a safety car to bring everybody back into one long line, but he's going to have to work hard if it stays green. Right now, at the back of the field is Ali Jafali. This is the lead battle. Robert Cronin then getting onto the back of Archie Clark as they brake hard for Agostini. You can see that cracked windscreen, just possibly to distract Robert Cronin. But his is one of the left-hand drive cars, so he's got a slightly better view out of that side of the car, and he's right there on the back of Clark. Despite what Archie has achieved in previous rounds this year, he's not yet stormed off into the distance. Now for third place, Hadley Simpson, just ahead of Jack Collins, and then Nick White fifth. Then there's a gap back to another big battle for sixth, out of which Mackenzie Douglas looks like he's dropped back now. Luke Shaw there in number 21 is in the mix as well, but as they wriggle their way through, there's been a bit of a shuffle in that group as well. Hadley Simpson third, trying to get away from Collins then as they make that run again down the Bentley Straight. Archie Clark race leader, 0.3 to the good early on. Quickest is sector 1, but quicker in sector 2 with Robert Cronin. So really they are still pretty much as one as they come now out of Brundle and Nelson. You can see the gap back to third, Hadley Simpson fending off the opposition, but in doing so he is losing time against these two, and he's dropping away in consequence. The gap widening a little bit as they come through Coram this time. That's Simpson in third. Fourth place, Collins. Fifth is Nick White. And as they now start that run down towards the end of the lap, up through turn 12, over the timing line will come. Archie Clark still clear in the race lead then as he goes over the line. The margin was 0.3 of a second. It's now got up to 0.7. So Robert Cronin not quite able to stay on the back. Not surprisingly, for the first flying lap, it's a faster lap done by Archie Clark than anybody else. Look a little bit further back. We've got in sixth place now, number 27, which is Alex Duncan, Zentech car. Another place gained by Harry Gamble as he gets up the inside there of number 3 of James Townsend. So that puts him 9th now. Harry Gamble 9th, having been 18th when he came out of turn 1. That is James Townsend's SVG Motorsport car going through. In terms of the classes, the best of those in Pro-Am is Nick White. The best of the AMs is Luke Shaw in 8th place, number 21. And dramas here up at the Wilson hairpin, which have involved number 8 of Dominic Paul and 47 of Emma Tomlinson. And as you can see, they were absolutely stuck in the middle of the road. Thought for a moment all the pictures had frozen, other things were moving, but they now do get themselves together and try to vacate the scene of the crime. The good thing about it being a long lap is there is time for that to happen before the leaders get round again, rather than having to urgently scramble a safety car or a yellow flag intervention of sorts. Right, big effort there under braking, looked to go diving through on the inside line, and it works for Cameron Pratt-Thompson. He gets ahead of Colin White. That's now for 11th place, and Cameron Pratt-Thompson was 17th on the grid, so he's made pretty good progress in the first few laps. Look at the gap, though, that the top two have pulled again. And on this lap, Robert Cronin is responding. 2 absolute best in sectors, bringing down the margin against the race leader. So Clark, Cronin, and then a small gap back to Hadley Simpson 3rd, Jack Collins 4th, Nick White there 5th. You're looking at in number 57, and he leads in Pro-Am. Nick, who's had a very good run in Ginetta Racing over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and is a kind of Pro-Am plus, really, given the way that he goes. He was the AM champion last year and looking to try to gain another place outright as they drop once more towards the end of the lap. In second in Pro-Am, it is the car of Alex Duncan at 6th overall, and then Harry Gamble, who is constantly playing catch-up after his lap 1 dramas. He is next in the queue. Driving standards flag is being issued to Cameron Pratt-Thompson for the dreaded track limits. And the race leaders then start to work their way up towards the Wilson hairpin again. 27 goes by. Alex Duncan, the second of those within Pro-Am. And he's not that far off the back of Mackenzie Douglas either. So Mackenzie Douglas hanging on to position 4 now, last year's champion. Hence the coveted number 1 on the side of the car. And frustrating race for him this. It looked like it was going to be a good start when he dived out from 6th on the grid, but actually that's still where he remains. So Mackenzie Douglas not making the progress in the Fox Motorsport entry that you might have anticipated. Further behind, there is 23 Harry Gamble. You can see how fired up he is, really late on the brakes. The car dodging around in the mirrors of number 21 of Luke Shaw, who is still the best of the AMs. Heading through the infield section, then once again up towards Hamilton. The very distinctive car of Harry Gamble, then not quite close enough to make a move under braking here, but might well do at the end of Bentley Straight. They come now through Oggies up towards Williams, and that in turn puts them onto Bentley Straight. Speed building once again as they power away down towards the S's. So Luke Shaw 8th overall, Harry Gamble right there behind him. But Archie Clark's advantage had come down for the outright race lead at the end of the previous lap. 0.581 seconds it was. So just over half a second between Clark and Cronin. Hadley Simpson 3rd. He's very nearly 4 seconds back. So the top 2, I wonder whether this is part of the Cronin game plan. Working with Archie Clark, rather than fighting for the race lead, get away, build a big gap, and then they can think about squabbling late in the race. Mackenzie Douglas goes by, still doing his level best to get himself back onto terms with the leading quintet, having lost a little bit of time early on. They're going through 7th is Alex Duncan, and for 8th place now, Luke Shaw, Harry Gamble absolutely together as they power their way up towards the timing line. Harry Gamble right at the wheel tracks, now thinks about the move at turn 1, going into Riches, but he does not want that outside line again. That was his undoing at the very start of the race. It may be that he's got no option. Switches sides, big dive up the inside, through he goes. There's dust kicked up ahead, but Harry Gamble makes the move stick, and he comes out the other side of Riches then now in 8th place. So it's been a good recovery this, from 18th as he came off the grass up into 8th place overall. And again, he's not done yet. I don't think we're going to get an interruption to the race to really throw him a lifeline, but Gamble's pace is good. Now, Mackenzie Douglas, who is in 6th, has now done the fastest lap of the race. He's just done a 1:56.7. Pole position was a 55.2, and it was a bit cooler when these cars hit the track first thing this morning. So there you can see number 43, Archie Clark, getting away from the rest of them all the while. The gap's 0.6 of a second to Cronin, Simpson 3rd, Collins 4th, White 5th, Douglas 6th. That is the Pro-Am leader, Nick White, you're looking at, number 57, going through his car, one of the Raceway Motorsport entries. And Gamble is hunting down 27 of Alex Duncan there. Look as the cars now make that run up from Oggies on towards Williams. So Nick White accelerates down Bentley Straight. Another driving standards flag being offered up, and it is to Ali Jafali, who's got himself up to 14th, in fact, having been at the foot of the order. But he's been a little bit cavalier with the track limits and therefore gets the warning flag. Mackenzie Douglas then, fastest lap of the race, and he's hard at work. Comes out of the Brundle-Nelson sequence of corners. There are the two leaders with, again, Robert Cronin not quite being able to stay close enough to really make a move here. Mackenzie Douglas, though, is edging ever closer, I would propose, to the back of Nick White's car. So he's not done yet. He's game on between these cars as they drop again down out of the final corner up towards the start and finish line. Road does climb at this point. I think that Snetterton is totally flat, but it is a little bit of an incline heading up towards the timing line. They break the beam now. The lead gap is up again to 0.8 of a second. Clark to Cronin, and we're into the second half of the race now as well. So they're lapping at just under the 2-minute mark, a 1:57.3 last time. Fastest lap still that Mackenzie Douglas lap at a 56.7, and way into the weeds there goes 21 of Luke Shaw, and he was the leading AM, so he may well have lost the class lead. Colin White goes through, and he's an AM, so now it is going to be number 3, James Townsend, who is the AM class leader. Now, whether Luke Shaw got there of his own doing or with a bit of help, time will tell. But he's certainly been way off in the weeds and drops a lot of time as a consequence. So in the AM battle now, it is going to be James Townsend from Colin White from Luke Shaw. Pro-Am still being led by Nick White from Alex Duncan, and Harry Gamble is now third in class. Through there goes James Townsend. That, therefore, is the AM leader now in the red and turquoise car. So James Townsend going nicely, and he's into the top 10 as a legacy of Luke Shaw's incident. Luke had lost the place anyway to Harry Gamble and then fell off the racetrack. So time lost as the race leaders swing their way through Brundle and Nelson. Nick White's on the attack as well, partly to have a go at Jack Collins and partly to fend off the efforts of number 1 Mackenzie Douglas behind him. So Mackenzie Douglas trying to remind people why he was the champion last year, and I'm sure over the course of the longer race tomorrow he will go even better than 6th. Certainly a man to watch in that. Colin White, number 78, comes towards us. For many years, Colin was the man to beat on the ovals in national hot rod racing. Made that switch to circuit racing, what, 2 decades ago probably now, if not more, and has done most of his miles in Ginettas. Leaders go by. Archie Clark, the leader, and the margin now 0.8 of a second. So Robert Cronin doing his best to stay in touch, but it's just slightly evaporating for him. Something flapping at the rear of the car there. You go on board with Robert Cronin. Don't think it's holding him up particularly, but he breaks now for Wilson, goes into the hairpin. Back onto the power, drags the car out the other side of the tight right that loops back on itself, and now you've got the sort of paperclip infield section of the twisty nature of the corners. A lot of racetrack compressed into the otherwise wasted infield of Snetterton, so it puts a lot more of the lap into the middle of the track, and hard on the brakes into Agostini then goes Robert Cronin. Now 37 still pushing on as well. That is Hadley Simpson. He's got Jack Collins tucked up behind him. A look further down, another fastest lap of the race was set last time around, and it was by Harry Gamble, who is in 8th place. You see him in the background in the bright yellow car that's going to just flick through the right hand of the shot. So Gamble's next target is 27 of Alex Duncan. He's edging ever nearer to him. But now for 3rd place, Hadley Simpson is coming under real pressure, isn't he? Jack Collins was right there behind him as they came out of Williams. Down Bentley Straight once more. Here are the race leaders with that gap heading towards tripping over the full second now in favour of Archie Clark. More track limit driving standards flags. The latest recipient of one is Harry Gamble. There he is, number 23. He's got to be careful. This is Nick White under attack from Mackenzie Douglas in car number 1. Through bomb hole they go. That fast right-hander running wide up onto the curb with 2 wheels, but no more, and then accelerate again on towards another fast right-hander. Coram curve that loops you all the way back to the end of the lap. Nick White leading in Pro-Am, brakes hard, sets the car up for the left-hander, back onto the power, drags it up the hill. 6 minutes on the clock as the leaders come by, and Clark to Cronin still hovering around that 0.8 of a second mark now. In towards Riches goes this long line for 3rd place, and the line is getting longer, I would suggest, because not only now is Alex Duncan starting to close onto the back of Mackenzie Douglas, but he's taking Harry Gamble with him, and now up into 9th from 17th on the grid. Cameron Pratt-Thompson has done the fastest lap of the race. He's having a great drive. He was warned about track limits early on, but he's going really, really nicely now as Jack Collins defends from Nick White, who has got Mackenzie Douglas up behind him, and that suddenly enables the third place man, Hadley Simpson, just edge away by half a length or so. Nick White's on the attack again, pulls out, tries to unsettle Collins, coming down to Agostini, but to no avail. After his moment, by the way, Luke Shaw down in 12th place overall. So trying to fight his way back into contention in class is Luke Shaw, but still it's James Townsend ahead of Colin White, and that's the man with the fastest lap of the race to his name now. Cameron Pratt-Thompson, he's done a 1:56.658. And he's got himself up into 9th from the back of the grid, so going nicely. And again, he's not done yet. If there's time enough to get one more place, I'm sure he'll be able to grab that as the leading Archie Clark car breaks for the S's, turns into the left and right, the MDD Racing entry, clear of Robert Cronin. 0.8 of a second being the margin. Then in 3rd place, it is Hadley Simpson. In 4th place, you've got number 12, the car in the hands of Jack Collins, the E3 Sport car, Jim Edwards' team. And then Nick White right up behind. Long, long wait there for number 3. That is James Townsend. He's the leading AM, remember, in 10th place outright. Colin White is next. Behind him, it's the recovering Luke Shaw. And then Ali Jafali, the brother of Rima Al-Jafali. Off the road, 47, and trying to dig herself back onto the road, Emma Tomlinson. So that was coming out of the Hamilton section of the circuit, and Alex Duncan has got a problem in 27. Now he's avoided pit in, was that because he was recovering from a grassy moment and therefore was slow onto the tarmac. Either way, place is lost, so that now puts up the order Harry Gamble, and he's going to get a double success here, because as you look at number 1 there, Mackenzie Douglas, he has just been hit with a 5-second penalty for track limit offences. So the reigning champion, he's not having a happy time of it, and 5 seconds are going to add to the woe. So that brings Harry Gamble then 7th on the road. He's certainly within 5 seconds, so he's going to get 6th place at the end. He'd like to do it on merit, of course. Emma Tomlinson's grassy moment drops her car way down the order as well. So now 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and almost 7th together in a line. And as far as Gamble is concerned, as long as he can get up and stay within those 5 seconds, then the place will be his. There are 3 minutes and 16 seconds on the clock still as you look at Mackenzie Douglas going by. But Archie Clark up front has done a really impressive job in this race. He's never had a massive gap, and indeed the gap has come down fractionally last time around. But he is still in charge and has not put a wheel out of line. So it is looking pretty strong for him up front at the moment for win number 5. He's got Robert Cronin behind him. Cronin won the first of the 2 races at Oulton Park last time out, and you can see that he is having another good late push, trying to get himself onto terms with Clark as they go now into bomb hole through that right-hander on towards Coram. This is Cronin's view, and is he near enough? He certainly has brought the gap down. It was 0.3 of a second last time. That car of Clark's just a bit more nervous maybe going through Coram. You see the way that he had to keep stubbing on the brake lights. Maybe he's asked a bit much of his tyres early on in the race. So now they come through. Now they're going to get 2 more laps out of this because there are 2 minutes and change on the clock, and a flying lap is just under the 2-minute mark. So they go through with 2 minutes 17 seconds. So this lap and 1 more. This is the battle pack for 3rd as they come through, which is Simpson, Collins, White, Douglas with his penalty, and Harry Gamble is almost with them. And up into 8th place now after the troubles for Alex Duncan is Cameron Pratt-Thompson. Now Mackenzie Douglas makes the move up the inside. This is for 5th on the road, but the penalty is still against him. And in fact, look behind Harry Gamble. Cameron Pratt-Thompson is right up with him as well. So Gamble, although he's been gaining places, might lose one before the very end. The yellow car in the background being given a really hard time now by Pratt-Thompson, number 39. There they are. So this is for 7th on the road and 6th in corrected times because of the penalty for Mackenzie Douglas, who in turn has found himself up already past Nick White. So there's lots of shuffling going on with time for 1 more lap at the end of this. There is Cameron Pratt-Thompson. Alex Duncan in 9th place is next in the queue. So as Hadley Simpson hangs on to his 3rd place, hat tip to him because he's had a whole line of cars stacked up behind him race long, and yet he has not cracked under the pressure, not put a wheel wrong, and he remains resolute in that 3rd place. Yes, he has dropped a lot of time, like 8 seconds worth to the leaders, but he's hanging on to 3rd as now thinking about having to defend really for the first time in the race is Archie Clark. There sitting in the middle of the road as the cars came down Bentley Straight. avoiding that big high sausage curb on the inside of the S's, and now onto the power, heading into the right-hander of bomb hole again. 26 then is Robert Cronin in second, pushing hard. What he can't yet do, though, is get a mistake out of Archie Clark as they run out of that long right of Coram. Look at the gap. Wait for third place. It should be Hadley Simpson. There he is. Jack Collins fourth, but for how much longer? Mackenzie Douglas, as soon as he's been given that penalty, he's really kind of woken up, hasn't he? Another place gain, very nicely done, coming out of Coram. Jack Collins fights back on the inside. Douglas slides wide, goes way out wide over the curb. That was all four wheels off, and he's maintained the momentum coming up the pit straight. Right up behind him is Nick White. Then you've got Harry Gamble. So Mackenzie Douglas has got the momentum, and Nick White's got a toe, and so has Gamble. Now they all try and fan out across the road. Nick White's got a bit stuck. Gamble couldn't go through on the inside. Collins is on the outside. He goes wide. White goes wide. Gamble gains two on the inside line. Great opportunistic move. And starting the last lap, now fourth on the road is Douglas. Not for long, because round the outside with bags of understeer goes Harry Gamble. One up and one back because he was ahead of Nick White. He's lost that place. And Mackenzie Douglas, fourth on the road with the penalty then. Nick White's back to fifth. Down to sixth again goes Harry Gamble. Seventh is Cameron Pratt-Thompson. And the big loser out of all of that was number 12 of Jack Collins, because he's down to 8th position. Last lap then, and it looks as though Archie Clark is on target for win number 5 out of 7 races. You can see yet more drivers being warned about track limit offences, one of which is 26 of Robert Cronin. So having to be pretty careful now on this last lap. Hopefully the message can get through to drivers to tell them not to keep chancing their arm, really, not to push too much. James Rowling is another one, number 75, who's been warned, and also Jack Collins, who is at the back of this train already after losing place after place on the previous lap. Nick White now down towards the S's, and he's still on target for another victory within Pro-Am. But there, with a massive gap now between himself and the rest, is Hadley Simpson. Mackenzie Douglas fourth, but is he going to be able to hang on there? We've got another penalty being applied now. It is to Ali Al-Jafali, number 63, 13th. Confirmation. 5-second penalty given. Here are the leaders, and about to become race winner for the 5th time this season is Archie Clark. Robert Cronin is right in the wheel tracks there, but he's never really been able to pounce, and I don't think he's quite close enough as they break the beam. Archie Clark wins for the 5th time this season in the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. Robert Cronin second, the gap at the flag point, 2.85 of a second, and for the podium is going to be Hadley Simpson. He came into the race 5th in the championship, but he takes the 3rd place in the race from on corrected time. Nick White 4th, Harry Gamble 5th, Cameron Pratt-Thompson 6th, Jack Collins 7th, Alex Duncan 8th, and Mackenzie Douglas with his penalty 9th. Then the leading Am is going to head towards the timing line, and James Townsend goes through there, takes the checkered flag, a success for a very experienced Ginetta racer. Go back to 2017, and he was racing in the Ginetta Racing Drivers Club series, then into the full GT5 series. He's had a go in Carrera Cup GB and British GT on and off as well, but did also take part in the Gulf 12 Hours in 2023, the Intercontinental GT Challenge round. So well done to Archie Clark, another consummate performance, and he comes through the winner by just under 0.3 of a second. So for Archie Clark, it's yet another win. Robert Cronin, who has had a race win already this season, coming home for 2nd place, which I think is the first second position he's had. And then for 3rd, it is Hadley Simpson, who's yet to win, but he has been on the podium 2 or 3 times this season. Class wins for Nick White and also for James Townsend. There is Nick White, the Pro-Am winner, and he comes home 4th overall, with that penalty being given to Mackenzie Douglas. So, a race win for Archie Clark ahead of Robert Cronin and Hadley Simpson in 3rd. 4th goes the way of the class-winning Nick White. Runner-up in Pro-Am, Harry Gamble 5th, and then 6th overall, Cameron Pratt-Thompson, who started on the back row of the grid. 7th goes the way of Jack Collins ahead of Alex Duncan, who was delayed mid-race. 9th, a penalised Mackenzie Douglas. And 10th is the winning Am, that is James Townsend, ahead of Colin White and Luke Shaw, who led early on before he fell off the road. So let's have a look at a lively race in the Protyre Ginetta GT Championship. and it was a good start made by Mackenzie Douglas to dive out of the traffic, but it all sort of kicked off ahead of him as Harry Gamble went to the outside line and ran out of real estate, ploughing his way through the dust that was way wide. He got back on track in last place and fought his way up the order from then on in, as there were some good battles all the way up and down the order. More tyre squeal heralded a backwards arrival of Luke Shaw. That was him spinning away the AM class lead. He was able to rejoin and he would finish the race third in class. More fights raged on, and Emma Tomlinson ended up tripping over Dominic Paul and having a spin 2/3 of the way through the race. Mackenzie Douglas then made his move against Nick White, and having been given a 5-second penalty for track limit offences, it kind of spurred Douglas into action. He was picking up places towards the end, but with the penalty applied, slid all the way back down to 9th. But this was a nice move going through Corham, and although Jack Collins tried to fend him off, sliding his way over the curb and getting on the power nicely, Douglas did secure the place. Harry Gamble's yellow car in the mix as well, and as they came 3 abreast over the timing line, Douglas, White, Collins, Gamble all squabbling. Harry Gamble gained a place and then lost it at the next corner as he braked a fraction too late round the outside, and with bags of understeer back up the inside came Nick White. While all that was going on, Archie Clark was looking dominant up front, and he came through to fend off Robert Cronin for a 5th win of the year in the Ginetta GT Championship.